Hey everybody, this is your brother, Narada, Michael Walden. Welcome to All In, my podcast where we break down music, life, and love, interviews and conversations. Let's get into it. Aubrey Dayle. Aubrey.
Hey, my man.
I want to go on a cosmic wild with you, Aubrey.
All right.
I want to thank you, Aubrey, for the love that you give to me.
All right.
I want to thank you for the love you've given in this book. I'm so proud of the achievement that only you could have put together.
Oh, it was crazy.
Only you could have found a way to transcribe the cosmic struts and all these beautiful songs, man.
Oh, man.
And tell the story.
Yeah.
That makes my heart sing, makes my heart sing, makes my heart sing. Yeah, bro. I love you, Aubrey Dayle. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
oh, man.
Okay. Back on the planet. We're back on the planet. Aubrey Dayle, man. I want to say I first saw you doing the Cosmic Strut transcription that you put together on your YouTube channel. And I was really impressed by you that you could write that stuff out and play it back. I'd never seen that before. That really turned me around.
Oh, man.
Then my friend in New York, Grant.
Calvin.
Yes, gave me your information,
Calvin.
how to find you. And from that point on, it's been a nice marriage of your know-how, musical skill and interpretation to help bring life to this wonderful book that we've got now. I don't know if you can even see it over there.
Pleasure.
It's so beautiful. It's the drumming, spirit, and music by Aubrey Dayle and Narada Michael Walden. And I'm just so knocked out. All my friends are participating, saying nice things and encouraging life in my heart and for our fans around the world. So I just want to really thank you, Aubrey, man. Really fantastic.
Oh, man. Thank you for bringing me on board.
Yes, brother. Yes. So I want to start out by your life. Let's go back in your life, how you got started playing drums. What happened in your life? And if you want to say about your early works as a young cat coming up,
Well, I mean, it started back when I was about 5 years old. And, my mother's side of the family is very musical.
Yes.
My father's side, not so much. We're from Jamaica. My parents, first generation immigrants from Jamaica to Canada.
Jamaica!
And that's
Jamaica!
Right. That's right. For all the yardies out there.
I love it.
And so my mom was like, you got to have music in your life. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. So, she was in her apartment. She screams like, come up here, boy. I got someone you got to meet. And it was the local music guy, selling music lessons on accordion.
Okay.
Yeah, so I put my hand on the keyboards and he goes, yes, he's a natural, of course. Right. He's a natural. Okay, sure. And but it was great. I ended up loving music right off the bat. And, went from that and became a teenager and saw that drummers tended to get girlfriends quicker. So
really, I thought it was lead singers and guitar players.
I don't know. I thought it looked to me like all the girls were talking to the drummer.
Okay.
So
lucky
I said,
you.
All right,
Lucky you, man.
Let me see about this.
Okay.
And my friend, wanted to start a band. He wasn't a musician. He just found his other friends and says, well, Aubrey, you should be the drummer. I go, absolutely. I'll be the drummer. And I could just play. It was a strange feeling. I I heard the record and I kind of knew what he was doing. It was a strange thing. I was listening to Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley. And that was the first song I played on drums. So from there, I just dug in. I always say to my students, the drums were like my video game. Because, how these kids, they play video games all day. Well, I played the drums all day because there were no video games at the time, at least not good ones, right? And I became more and more serious. And my mom, once again, well, if you're going to do this thing, you should do it right. So she sent me to the McGill Conservatory in Montreal.
Oh, Montreal.
And it was great.
Yeah.
Because I could learn all this cool stuff, and it made music make sense to me. And I could learn things off records easier. And I was like so excited. And then I started taking drum lessons. And I went to classical percussion. And I was going to be a symphonic player at one point.
Okay.
But the scene was pretty stiff, to say the least.
Okay.
Kind of stiff. So I went back to drums and just kept going from there. I went to school and all that. I went to Manhattan School of Music.
You did?
Got a degree at McGill and ended up, and when I went to Manhattan, I thought I was going to go to New York and go home. But I started getting gigs in New York and ended up staying there for like 14 years.
A long time.
Long time, and met all kinds of great players and played on Broadway and was able to, tour, play on TV, make all the stuff I dreamt of doing. I was able to do that. And, stayed in America for all that time. And after 9/11, so I can keep my family together and safe, and decided to come back to Canada.
Yes.
Where it was easier to educate my kids, and it was just a little easier in general. Some parts of me kind of regretted leaving, but at the same time, life's been good because it ended up I got really ill. And being in Canada when you're really ill is very good. Okay. It won't bankrupt you. And I was saved. I had a kidney issue. I had a kidney transplant.
Wow.
And my lovely wife Julie was kind enough to donate her kidney to me. So here I sit before you.
Oh man, okay.
In one piece.
Yeah, it's been an adventure.
It's
been an adventure.
So that's kind of the quick edited version of my life.
Yes.
And, running up against you was such a thrill. I can barely describe it. I've been following your playing since the early days of my playing, when I was like 14 years old. And I go rush home and put on, well, the funny thing is, initially, I was, of course, a Billy Cobham fan, like we all are.
Yes.
Billy Cobham fan.
Oh, my God.
He played in this band called the Mahavishnu Orchestra. I was excited by that. So I bought, the first album.
Yes.
Intermountain Flame and Birds of Fire. So now I'm like, wow, here's another one. It's called Vision of the Emerald Beyond. Okay, bring it home. Get it on the turntable. All right, more Billy Cobham. And then it starts out, I'm like, this is amazing. But it doesn't sound like Billy. Just the sound of the drums. It was like they were in the room. It was massive. I was like, what is happening? I guess this is it. What Billy's playing is real different on this. So then I looked more carefully on the album cover. And there's this this light-skinned brother, a big smile on the back of the. I was like, "Oh no, this is someone different." I was like, "Wow, there's two of them out there like this," and that's when I was turned on to Narada Michael Walden, and then I couldn't get enough. I had to find out everything that you were doing, and and that was it. So to get a chance to do this project was unbelievable.
Thank you.
Aubrey. It was unbelievable.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Yeah.
Can you go back to a little bit more of your history, if you don't mind? Like you mentioned being in New York, and then you did Broadway plays. What kind of play would you be doing in Broadway?
Well, when I was in New York, it was a play called "Bring On Da Noize, Bring On the Funk."
That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily I was a pretty good reader, and I had because of my classical background, and I used to do plays in Montreal where I grew up. I had this really great friend of mine now, this guy named Bob Batchelor. As a kid, he just had way more faith in me than I think he should have. But he had me playing in pit bands for his theater company. And I had no idea how valuable that experience was, to be able to do that and learn how to read and, deal with the conductor and the whole vibe of that. So, I was able to manage that. I was also going to sub on, what was that one? The Asian one. Lion King. Now I'm getting a bit of brain fog. But I didn't have the time to work it out because my son had been born. Oh. And there was so much, non-sleep and other gigs. I just couldn't spend the time to learn the book as well as it needed to be learned. But that's the show I played on that one.
Wonderful.
And in the meantime, I was playing with James Blood Ulmer.
Yes, the guitar player, of course.
Guitar player. Yeah. And John Popper, the harp player. And which was a really cool thing. John was fantastic.
From the blues, from the blues band.
Blues Traveler.
Blues Traveler.
Yeah.
He's a killer.
Oh, a monster.
So you hang with him.
Yeah, this was like in the sort of latest 90s, because I had gotten involved in this jam band called God Street Wine, who was out there, and they're actually hitting again. I just saw, I made one record with them that wasn't released, but they just released it all these years later.
Okay.
Which is something. So because of that experience, I guess some of John's band members who I'd gone to Manhattan School of Music with realized I was in that scene, and he called me for a sort of a side tour outside of Blues Traveler for about, we were out for about a year, I think it was. Okay. And that was really fun. He's a real sweet dude, like a really good guy. And it's nice when you run into good people like that, and treat you well and all that. It's a little eccentric, but he was a good guy.
So let me go back into your drumming for a moment. You are an excellent drummer. And how did you learn to do what you do? I mean, I know it's a broad question, but not only are you technically proficient, but you're also able to read and write at a very high level. Things I could never read and write, you're able to do. So it's mind-blowing for me. I must just tell you that, Aubrey. What you're able to do, what you're able to assume by your ear and describe it and transcribe it and then play it back, to me is like a whole other world. Right. Which is probably why I have these cosmic dance sparkles behind me to bring this love that I'm feeling that you're able to do and what you are able to do. So speak about that at all. Anything you want to say?
Well, I mean, the way I came up, was compared to your background, was like a different stream. It was very academic, only because that's all I knew, and I kind of see, for me, learning the drums or learning music in general is kind of like being a bit of a detective. You hear something, and at first it just seems like a blob of beautiful sounds that you love. Then you eventually decide to break it down, that's the guitar part, that's the bass, that's the drum, okay? And then you break it down further within the drums. And because, like I said, I came up in a more academic sort of stream because of the McGill Conservatory, I was able to kind of understand what things look like, not just in my ear, but also how it looked on paper. And I started transcribing really early, like, okay, what is that fill that Neil Peart just did? Or what is that fill that John Bonham just played? All right, let me see if I can piece it together, So that started when I was a teenager. And I look back at that time and realize how off I was a lot of times, but I was pretty accurate at the same time. It's actually part of why I dug into Cosmic Struck, because of the pandemic. didn't have anything really to do. So I said, you know what? Let me go back to the drumming that I used to listen to when I was a teenager and see how much more of it now that I understand that all those skills have been developed over decades now, right? To be able to do just that, see a blob of beautiful sounds and dissect it and then write down what you hear. So, of course, decades later, it's more sophisticated.
Are you
And
able
it
to
was
use
so
some?
exciting that,
Yeah.
wow, I can actually understand this. And
Do you
I can tell
use
exactly what he's playing.
some kind of technical device that helps you hear the
Oh,
drums
yeah.
more clearly?
Yeah,
Can you speak about that?
absolutely.
Okay.
So, and that's the beautiful thing about living in 2024 is that we have artificial intelligence
Yes.
that is now a great aid to the music industry. Yes, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, unsure feelings about what's going to happen with it as far as human and machine, who's going to win out. But at the same time, the tools you can use now with AI, there's one that I use. There's two things that I use. One is called the Amazing Slowdowner.
Okay.
Now, that's not an AI tool. That's been around for years and years. The Amazing Slowdowner, which I recommend to everybody out there, because you can slow things down to 25% of the speed. But that slows all the music down, and you do hear artifacts. It gets a little distorted digitally if you get below about 30%, 30%. But you can see more clearly what someone plays because it's so slowed down. And then on top of that, I found this other tool called LaAi. And what that does is it removes the drums through AI away from the rest of the music. Or if you're a bass player, you can pull the bass out of the music, or you can pull the vocals out, depending on what part you want. You can actually separate it from the rest of the music. That is a game changer.
Right.
So what I did is I used LaAi with the Amazing Slowdowner. Now, the thing about it, though, it's not foolproof just yet. There are still some issues in that as the AI crunches the numbers and does the separation, sometimes it pulls sounds from the original bed track. And it depends on how clearly it was recorded. Right? So the more clear, like for instance, on Visions of the Emerald Beyond, the recording is spectacular.
Yes. Ken
So
Scott,
when you pull the
great
drums out,
producer engineer with Mahavishnu. And
Ken Scott, right? So
at
you
Jimi Hendrix's
pull
studio, I have to say. At Jimi
What's
Hendrix's
that?
studio. Recorded at Jimi Hendrix's studio in
Yeah.
Ladyland in Greenwich
Right,
Village.
Ladyland.
Yeah.
And when you pull it out, the drums are like clean and clear. Now, artistically, the Wired album sounds incredible. The way that Jan Hammer, first of all, was the one who mixed it, right?
Yes.
So that's something a lot of people don't realize, but he was the one who mixed it and then added his overdubs.
Yes.
But the way that he dealt with the recording, it was way more integrated in the main bed track, so it didn't come out quite as clearly. So that one was challenging. I had to go over and over and over, and I'd have to sort of A/B it, like, okay, here's with the music. Oh, I missed a hi-hat. This is without the music. Oh, that came up better. And I'm going back and forth, trying to get it as clean as I could. So, it's not the end of the end just yet, or end. I can't think of the statement right now. It's
Okay.
it's not at its peak efficiency yet. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, for those who are just checking out our podcast, this is Aubrey Dayle, and Aubrey is explaining how he's able to take drum tracks that I played, as well as other people, but in particular in this book, and break down what's actually going on the in the inside of the hi-hats, the inside of the work with the snare drum, inside with the bass drum, inside with the drum fills, inside with all these things that are going on in these songs. And in particular, he went back to like the early '74 Apocalypse album. And then he goes into Visions of the Emerald Beyond album. Then he goes now to Wired, where he's talking about of Lead Boots, and I believe he did Play With Me off that album.
Play With Me as well. Yeah.
So it's quite something. So I want everyone to know that what you're doing is very magical, very magical.
And it's it's something that I encourage people to do if you can, even if you have never done it before. You have, in a sense. Most drummers transcribe. I mean, you transcribe. That's how you learned how to play, but you just did it by ear. Mm-hmm. So it's much more organic. Mm-hmm. You hear Billy Cobham, and you have the amazing ability to kind of go, oh, that's what that is, and reproduce it. Yeah. Another drummer who can do that, who's a friend of yours, is Dennis Chambers. He's not someone who's completely academic, but it's terrifying how great his ear is, just like yours, which I admire.
Dennis Chambers is a genius.
Oh, man.
I so admire him. And, of course, as you mentioned, Billy. Billy's he's our teacher when it comes to that kind of
our North Star.
World. Absolutely. And I'm so happy that you first came onto the scene of loving Billy with the first album of Mahavishnu.
Yeah.
Which was really incredible work. Vital Transformation and Meeting the Spirits and that whole entire album.
That whole record.
So you could have taken that album and slowed it down and used AI back at that time if it was available and transcribed Billy's parts.
Oh, if I had that, my goodness. I don't know what to tell you.
Then you have a Billy Cobham album, Billy Cobham book coming out. Billy Cobham.
Yeah, that's
Speaking of Billy did a great thing to do a forward for me in this book. It's Billy's forward down here.
So beautiful. Yeah.
What he says. And I'm so honored for those in the world. Billy Cobham is our great hero in this drumming world. I'm so happy that he blessed this book and blessed our lives with his great
also,
work.
I was really, I didn't know this was going to happen too. For me, it was a surprise when I saw that Kenny Aronoff got involved.
Yes.
That was like, wow, that's really beautiful. And he had a nice little statement or page that really put even more emphasis on the value of the book. Very exciting. And of course, the Billy's thing is so beautiful the way he put it as well. So for those, I really encourage you guys to check the book out.
Thank you so much. And say a word about my brother Steve Smith, who came through big time. He was very inspired by the Visions of the Emerald Beyond album and wrote a wonderful thing, as well as his friend Vinny Colaiuta. They say such great things about what they got from that time. And reading this book also has been a nice homage that they are part of all this.
What Narada's talking about is that there are interviews in the book.
That's right.
Which was a real highlight. It's a highlight for the book, and it was a real thrill for me to talk to your good friend Ralph Armstrong, the incredible bass player, who was first of all such a joyous character and a pleasure to hang out with for those moments and to talk to. And he gave a real cool account of the Detroit scene back when he was young and very young. He started very young. He was barely 16 years old and he was playing with you. Incredible story. And so he was really generous and a beautiful interview in the book of that. Then Steve Smith, who has, I'd met Steve briefly before because like with Cosmic Strut, I did a transcription and a performance of a song called A Perfect Date. That's on one of Steve Smith's records. And, he got back in touch and it was really, really nice. He was really encouraging. So when this project came up and he did the interview, it was a huge thrill.
Beautiful.
And you two have like a real positive vibe together, so that felt really good. And he wrote some great stuff. He was so cool. He actually went through and re-edited the I was like, Steve, you're going to spend that time. Thanks, man. And then, of course, Mahavishnu himself.
Speak about that. Speak about your interview with Mahavishnu.
Yeah. So, Mahavishnu, John McLaughlin was, I think, just gearing up for a tour with Shakti.
Yes, their 50th year.
50th year,
Yeah,
yeah.
big celebration.
So he was, first of all, this is, he's an older gentleman now. So, but he's raring to go.
At all times. At all
He's raring to
times.
go. Raring to
Cosmic
go.
universe at all times
Yeah,
on, man. The preserver, the
absolutely.
sustainer, the creator.
So, he wasn't able to do a live interview, but he says, okay, don't worry about it. Go ahead, send me the questions and I'll get back to you, I promise. So he did take time
Thank you.
and we corresponded in writing. So I was super excited that that came together. So all three of them were incredibly generous, like I say, with their time and their energy and their love, for the book and for you, Narada.
Thank
They were
you.
very happy to talk about what's happening with you
Thank you.
from different angles, right?
Yes.
So
Who's
that was
coming through right
exciting.
now is Aretha. Aretha Franklin is in our book for the Freeway of Love,
Yes.
who
Yeah.
I'm very also so proud to have worked with. And
Yeah. That
I,
whole period was very exciting. Between Aretha and Whitney Houston, they kind of overlapped, you know, and that was really exciting. So, and yeah, the stories, the way I described the book, like I was at my in-laws a couple of days ago for the Labor Day weekend, and they go, "Oh, you wrote a book. What's it about?" I says, "Well, you guys aren't drummers, but you know what? I think you're going to enjoy the book anyways. It's like a coffee table book with really great pictures and a really fascinating, inspirational story of one of our best producers and drummers. I mean, you can't lose." So they all bought books.
nice, very
It's
nice,
like, you know,
very
that was really
nice.
nice of them. But that's kind of how I see it. It's a book for everybody. You don't have to be a musician to enjoy it. And I think it gives you an insight into the making of an artist, where they come from, how you deal with life as you kind of grow into what you become. And that's the part, at least for me. I saw you wrote Rob this morning and said, like, what's the most important thing in the book?
Yes, yes,
And I thought about that. And for me, it's the inspiration that is developed following your path, because that's the most interesting thing to me with any great artist. Is like, okay, we know them for what they've become, but how did they get there? And what can I glean from that, to help me get better and get closer to my goals? And that's kind of what it's all about. It's just pulling inspiration from your story. And, you just happen to be a particularly good guy. So, it, you know, I think it has like a warm and encouraging feel to it. It's a real positive sort of feel to it. Even when you had some tough times, I could still see that you always kept this sort of, this eye on the prize type attitude, and it always feels positive. Being around you always feels positive. I don't know if you know that, but that's what I always felt whenever I was around you or writing about you. The book kind of wrote itself, honestly. It wasn't like, okay, I got to deal with this dude again.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Well, Aubrey, I hope I can do more with you in the future.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah,
there are more pieces I'd like you to get into, from the Garden of Love line and more on the solo side.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there's
yeah,
Ray Gomez is coming through. I'm feeling Ray's
yeah,
spirit with his genius
yeah,
guitar work on Sun is Dancing and White Night and
yeah.
those pieces. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, that whole period is so significant too. We
Yes.
did touch on it in text, but
Yes.
I didn't get to transcribe it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
down the way,
Thank
we're
you.
not done yet.
Thank you. Aubrey, I have to say, I think you're onto a great thing where you're taking drummers and transcribing their work and explaining the insides for the new generation. I think it's
Yeah.
wonderful you're doing this work. And I'm so happy I happened to stumble upon you just looking
Yeah.
on the YouTube. This is the good thing about YouTube now. People like you
Yeah.
are there. Boom.
That's right.
It's like,
That's
wow.
right.
You know what I mean? My
Yeah.
eyes were opened up. So I'm so happy I was able to come across you and your talent and your
Well, I
insights,
appreciate
how
that.
you do things, that you could take up your heart and soul and write a whole book. I'm just so
Yeah.
pleased by you. So thank you, Aubrey. I want to really just make sure I'm thanking you. So important.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I like you said, it's well, my mom was a teacher.
Okay.
She's a teacher, high school teacher for
Okay.
like 40 years. Part of it was in Jamaica and the rest of it was in Canada. So that gene is definitely inside of me.
Yeah.
And I love imparting, I love learning information and imparting it on others. You know,
Wow.
like the more I can help someone understand something, the better I feel about being here in a lot of ways. So yeah, there's so much, there's so many great players, and drumming is such a challenging instrument in some ways. It's such an exciting instrument.
Yeah.
If we can help each other as musicians to understand what, especially our greatest musicians, have worked on and done in the past and elevate that, you know, to me, that's a huge and great calling, which I'm always excited to do. So yeah, you know, I'm just glad to be able to do it, and I'm going to do it more. And I got to say that I know we're both very pleased to have worked with Rob Wallace
Yes.
and with Joe Bergamini,
Yes.
who have been so awesome. And I still
Hudson,
pinch myself that they wanted to publish this, and
Hudson
they put
Publishing.
so much effort
Yes.
and love into making it happen.
Yes.
You know, and they're very kind and easy to work with. You know, can't say enough good things about Hudson Music.
Yeah, and I heard this morning the idea from Rob about doing Zooms with
Yeah,
drummers around the world, that you and I can Zoom with them and give them love
Yeah.
and encouragement. You know, maybe they want to learn one of the pieces from the book or like that,
Right.
some kind of contest or something, which
Yeah.
we'll think about. But we want to include our friends in the world to learn some of these pieces, and then
That's
we can talk
right.
with them and inspire them and keep it
Yeah,
going.
and
Most importantly, keep it going.
there's a contest that Rob is putting together now,
Okay.
and it's going to be very exciting. Yeah, and like I encourage everyone to buy the book, because if you buy the book, you have a chance of winning some pretty cool stuff. In fact, let me see, I got it right here.
Okay.
So Narada works with Paiste cymbals.
Yes.
So they have offered up, dig
Yes.
this, an 18-inch PST X Swiss medium cymbal. Those are really cool cymbals. They got like holes in them.
Yeah.
So they have a real hollow, swishy sound.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a lot of hip hop drummers using those cymbals these days.
Yeah.
Fabulous
And
cymbal.
I'll sign it. I'll sign it.
And
I
it'll
will
be
autograph
signed.
it. Yeah.
Also, this is very exciting. Drum Workshop, who's another one, another endorser of Narada, is offering up a design series brass snare drum, 6.5
I love it.
by
I love
14 inches.
it. I love
Yay!
it. I love it. I love it.
That's
wonderful.
That's like, okay, so all you got to do is be able to answer some questions, and which may take a little research. And a lot of the questions are in the book. They're not on the internet because Narada told me about them himself.
Yes, it's true.
Okay.
It's true.
And also, there'll be a couple of physical copies, signed physical copies, some digital copies. And I know I'm willing to give a couple of free lessons as well.
Okay.
So
Great.
there's a bunch of stuff, guys.
Great.
There's a
Aubrey,
bunch of
go,
stuff.
go.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, and that should be hitting the airwaves. You know, check out online, check out Hudson Music. I'm sure they're going to be advertising it, but we're going to get the word out.
Yes.
The contest should be launching, I believe, in October
Okay.
or sooner. So
Okay.
just keep an eye out.
Very good.
But I'm really excited about it because it's, you know, it's always cool. Contests are always cool, anyways.
Yeah.
so keep your eye scanning the internet.
So Aubrey, in closing, is there something you want to tell all of our fans in the world, all of our lovers of music and lovers of life, and some message you want to impart at this time to all the folks in the world, around the planet, around the globe, around the universe?
From the universe, when you're inspired by something, pursue it, because you know what? There's a good chance that you're going to run up against it. And if it's meeting your hero, you'll meet your hero. If you dream that you're going to attain a certain thing, you'll attain that thing, whatever it is. So if you're inspired and you want to go for it, don't hear the word no in your head. Just keep walking towards it. That's one of the things I learned from hanging out with Narada Michael Walden. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Aubrey. Aubrey Dayle. In closing, Aubrey Dayle. Aubrey Dayle.
All right.
Aubrey Dayle. You're wonderful. You got it going on.
Oh, man,
Got
I
it going
appreciate it, brother.
on. Got it going on. Aubrey, God bless you from Tarpan Studios on this wonderful day.
Thanks so much, Narada. I really appreciate it.
Okay, brother. God bless you. Love you. Thank you so much for listening to our All In podcast. If you enjoy the show, please follow, like, and subscribe on our socials. YouTube, Official Narada Instagram, Official Narada, one word. And All In with Narada Michael Walden on Apple Music, Spotify, and more. Thank you so very much.